Any other public comments on 2018 budget?
You can sit there and smile at me all day, Chad. It doesn't bother me.
Sign in, I've not done this
Please,
before.
You could sign in, that'd be
Sign your
great.
name in, and then you can just say your name and that you are from Monroeville. You don't need to give your street address or
Oh,
anything.
okay, great, thank you. Okay. Sorry, I'm Brenda Walsh. And
You're going to have to speak.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you, sorry, thank you. I'm Brenda Walsh, I live here in Monroeville, and my question on the budget, from what I read, was that there was an item, sorry, I'm nervous.
Okay, that's fine.
It's all right, just relax.
There was an item to recommend a full-time position for someone to solely be responsible for handling right-to-know requests at an annual rate of $15K. Did I not read that correctly?
It was for a part-time.
Oh, 15K, I guess that would have to be part-time, wouldn't it? Sorry. Okay, thank you for the correction. But for the sole purpose of handling right-to-know requests, correct?
Correct.
Okay, my question is that legal? Because it seems like it's solely for retribution and retaliation for those, and I've not lived here long, but, you know, trying to catch up and reading and politics and everything, it just seems like it's retribution for a few people who have requested them over and over again. That it is, I can understand where it would be a burden, but having someone solely to do that seems like a direct retribution for those that have done it, when if you were transparent on the information and it was posted, no one would have to ask for the information. So that's my question. Can I say it as a question? Is it legal? Can I just ask that?
You know what, I don't know if it's legal or not. I think one thing that you said, transparency, I think most everything that we do is transparent. We just happen to have a few residents that make it their business to do nothing but continuously over and over and over and over again, extraordinarily numbers of right-to-knows for nothing to do except cause one of our employees, that the poor guy can't get his job done because he's spending all his time trying to take care of these right-to-knows. That's where that comes in.
And I can appreciate that, but again, I'm going to go back to the legality of it. I'm not a lawyer. it just seems like it is, if I was in the workplace, that seems like a retaliation for something that I would do as an employee. So my concern is, I can understand where you would do it as overhead, that, wow, this is a burden. You know, if it was non-political, it would be, wow, this is really a burden. We're having a lot of these requests. So we really need, the overhead is huge. We need to add another person to handle multiple things, and this is included. When you single it out, it just seems really, really illegal to me.
Right to know law requires specific answers within specific times. Okay. Some of these requests, these right to knows that are filed, require a lot of research. And if you don't reply to the Office of Open Records properly, with the proper documents, then what they end up doing is taking you to court because they don't think you're responding properly. Okay. When the gentleman up there doesn't have the time and doesn't get that notarized document in on the exact day that he's supposed to, our solicitor ends up downtown explaining to the judge why that occurred.
And that costs us even more money.
And so what happens is somebody files a right to know and says, how many brick are in the municipal building? Well, he files a response that says, we don't know. The person that files the right to know files an appeal. It goes out to Harrisburg. Harrisburg sends a document back. Why don't you know? You see where I'm going?
I do. I fully appreciate that side of it. I do. But what then happens when you hire this person part-time to pay $15K, but your line item is so specific, and suddenly there's no more right to knows? A person moves out of, whoever you're complaining about has moved, there are no more right to knows. What do you do with this person now?
Then you wouldn't need them anymore.
That's why they're part-time.
I'm sorry, what is your name? I didn't hear.
Brenda Walsh.
Brenda.
I'm not totally understanding what you're talking about on two levels. One on the retribution level, and we'll hold that right there for a second. And you're saying that, that this is going to make it less transparent? What we're trying to do is we're trying to be more transparent than what we are. And I think we're as transparent as we possibly can be within how Mr. Harvey described it with respect to the time elements involved. This is a problem all across the country. And because the Right to Know law, which was passed in 2009, and was in line with certain other Right to Know laws in Illinois, California, it has just proliferated the RTKs across the Commonwealth. It has just ballooned. And there's nothing wrong with that, because we want to be transparent. But this part-time position will make it more transparent. And the gentleman, Joe Sedlak, who is our HR director and also our Right to Know officer, will give him more time to do HR duties in a municipality this size with 141 full-time employees and over 100 seasonal and part-time employees. Okay. So to have an HR department in a community this size should have 3 people in it. We have one who is also, his time is taken up doing RTKs. This in no way is talking about making things less transparent. In getting back to the retribution, that you're going to have to explain that to me, and I don't understand that.
I didn't say this was make it less transparent. To me, if everything was transparent, there would be less reason to have to submit right to knows. My impression, it's just my impression, that the reason there would be so many is because people feel like they're not getting the information that should be. And I might be totally off base.
I think I can tell, like a lot of our right to knows, I think I can say this, are, I want a copy of the last council meeting, where you can get one for free from the library. Or I want to know a copy of the brochure the library handed out, you know, whatever, it's things like that. It really are things that are
Here's an
public.
example. There was a Right to Know filed on how much fuel 2 of the ambulances in Monroeville used in a 3-month period. Well, it's not published anywhere. It's not, they would have to go into the computer that tracks the fuel pumps over there and print it out. But, so it's stuff like that that we don't know.
And that is fair enough that, you know, like you said, the law was passed in 2009, so there have been, you know, it does burden the personnel, and I can see having to add personnel. I guess my real problem is that it's singled out that this person is a full-time person and that's their only duty, that is their duty, instead of general HR that, hey, if you're not busy, you know, you add a person to the whole department, so when you're not busy, you do that. Because we have this, you've singled it out to be strictly for right to know, so that to me seems to be retribution, directly a thumb in somebody's eye, because you've asked for these, we're going to add 15, and I'm just saying, when I'm looking at line items, 15K is 15K of our budget, and I just wondered if the way it was worded
Well, you know
just
what, that
seems
makes,
like
that makes a little bit of
retributive.
sense how you're saying it. So all we would have to do is, if we're going to hire a part-time person, is put them in with our department and let
Yes.
them work accordingly.
Yes,
whatever it
and
is.
not be specifically to one duty only. I'm
There you
sorry, you
go.
can't
I
do anything else because you were targeted just for right to know. The way it's worded seems
I
very
understand.
much detrimental to the community. Thanks, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Leave the floor open for public comment on the 2018 budget.